Okay, our main problem or the main thing we're going to tackle in this chapter is theming. So theming is basically applying themes to your page. Now there's two ways that we can do theming. One way that we can do it is, let's just write out our structure right here. We have our app, and inside our app we have our deck. Deck is the entire thing, so and inside that we have all of our cards. So it's like a tree-like structure where we have everything managed like so. And you'll notice in the previous section, this deck, we converted it into a hook, right? So all of that card logic was converted into a hook. Now, for example, if you want a theme would be at the top right here. This theme would be provided to the application. The application would in turn have to provide the theme to the deck, and the deck would in turn have to manually provide this theme to every single one of its cards, like so. And the way it would do this is by using props. So we know what props are. Props are a way to directly address an element. So from an element, you directly put an attribute and you can pass something into the component. So this is one way to do it. But this is quite messy. As you can see, every time that we want, for example, if you want this card on the bottom right here to have a theme, this card needs to get a prop from deck, and deck needs to get a prop from app, and app needs to have the theme itself. So a lot of things can go wrong when you have maybe 100 components or maybe 500 components. Every single thing in that chain has to rely on each other so that the theme doesn't break. Instead, what we're going to do is, of course, we have that same topological structure. So we have our app, we have our deck, and we have our bunch of cards inside it. And let's say we have another component as well. So let's say C1 has another component with a bunch of stuff. C3 has a bunch of components with other stuffs. So all of this lives under the app itself. What we can do is we can wrap this entire thing in a theme. So we put a box over it, and this box has the theme. This box itself has the theme. So if anything inside the box, for example, if this component specifically wanted access to the theme, it could directly just grab it from this box because it lives inside it. If the app wanted the theme, it would directly just grab it from the box. If this component wanted the theme, it would directly grab it from the box because all of them live inside this theme, and the keyword is context. And that is what we'll be looking at in this episode. We'll be looking at context and how to create a theme context to tackle this very complex problem. So I'll repeat that problem one more time, and I'll write it at the bottom right here. And the problem was called prop drilling. So what we do here is we pass a prop down through different layers of components, some that might not even use it, okay? Because our app is at the top, our deck is in the middle, and our cards are at the bottom. For cards to be able to use theme by using props, our app would have to pass it to decks first, right? But maybe deck doesn't even need theme. Well, it has to carry that extra burden of passing on the prop. So that is one problem. And for something like a global theme, it gets messy, okay? Because all components need not have access to it. And if one component breaks in that chain, then the entire global theme breaks and it gets very bad. So what we want to do in this section is we want to learn how context works by making a dark and light theme. So we're going to make a dark and light theme that the header and the whole app both use. Now drilling would be a mess. Context fixes it. And we're going to learn what context is by doing this way. I hope you've understood why we're using context and why we don't use props and what we're trying to do overall. Basically, we're creating a big box which is our context that anything inside that box can easily access. In this case, the theme. So for that, I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to create a new file for the theme. So inside my source, I'm going to create a new JSX file, and I'm going to name it theme context. So keep sure of the file notation. You can see everything that is a hook has a small use in the front, and all of our other component files have a capital letter, like a capital casing format. Okay, inside our theme context, we're going to import a few things. We're going to import create context so that we can create a context. And we're going to import use state. We're very familiar with use state by now. It gives us memory. We know this by now, but we don't know what create context is. So we're going to look at what create context is pretty soon. So create context makes the shared box. The box that you saw in the visualization at the beginning of this episode, it makes that box. Other components can read from this box. And in fact, they live inside this box. So the first thing I'm going to create is const theme context, and I'm going to create a context. Okay? This is our theme context. It is basically a big box. If you go in our main JSX, you can see strict mode. Strict mode itself is also a context. Okay, and our app lives inside it, and our app can access anything that is inside strict mode. Next, we're going to create a provider. Provider is what wraps our app and supplies the theme. Plus a way to change it. So we're going to create a function, theme provider, and it's going to have a bunch of children. Okay, it's going to have a bunch of children. The argument that it takes is an object of children, and inside it I'm going to have theme and set theme. So this is definitely going to use state, and by default maybe I want the theme to be dark. Okay, so right now I've done nothing. I've just created a memory slot for theme. I can change the theme and I can set the theme using these two variables, and I'm using useState. We've done this a few times. What we're doing here is we're going to create a provider function. This function is going to wrap our entire application. It's going to wrap our entire application, and it takes an argument of a children object. So let's move on for now, and we'll look at what that means. So we're going to flip between dark and light. So we need a way to toggle our theme. So inside this function, we're going to have another function called toggle theme, and inside it, we're going to be able to change the theme. So set theme, and we're going to do theme equals to dark. So we're going to check if theme equals to dark, and we're going to use the ternary operator. If true, if it is dark, then we're going to set it to light. If not dark, we're going to set it to dark. So this logic should be pretty easy to follow if you know a little bit of JavaScript. We're using set theme to change the value of this memory again. We've done this a few times. If theme equals to dark, then we're going to set it to light. If this is false, then we're going to set it to dark. Okay, that basically flips our theme for us. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to create or define everything inside theme provider can now read theme and toggle theme if we do this. So children is whatever we wrap inside this provider. We're going to return a provider, and this provider is going to be theme context dot provider, and the value is going to be an object of theme and toggle theme. And we're going to end this theme context provider right here, and we're going to pass in children. So we're returning our provider. Inside this provider, we have children. Now we're going to define what children is. So anything that is in the place of this children has access to theme and has access to toggling the theme. At the very beginning, we created a context. A context is an empty box. We created a box that other components can read. So other components can read this context. Then we created a theme provider function, which takes in children. So which takes in a component or a bunch of component, basically children. basically components that we want to access this theme context. Inside it, we have a function to toggle the theme and our theme itself that is stored using useState. Then we're returning that provider, and inside that provider, we're returning the children with it. So every time we call this provider, it is going to wrap our children inside the provider, give us access to the theme, and give us access to toggle theme that we have inside here. And at the end, what I want to do is I want to export both of these. So I want to export the context itself, and I want to export this function itself from this file. Now we have a context and we have a provider, context provider, that are ready to use. Now we wrap our application in it and look at what it looks like. Okay, so we have our theme context and theme provider. This is the way to create it. It is a bit new, so you'll find it a bit difficult at first, but let's go inside our main.jsx and actually use it. So to use it, you have to import it inside your main.jsx. So I'm going to import it right here. Import theme provider from theme context.jsx. So bringing in our provider, and now we can use it. So to use it, simply after strict mode, we're going to use theme provider, and we're going to put our app inside theme provider. So what this does is now our app is the children. Inside theme context, if you look at it, our theme provider takes in a children. And in this case, our children is app and everything that app has inside it. In turn, our app has headers and everything inside it. So all of those now lie under theme provider. And what can children do? Well, children can access this theme that we've defined right here. And the children can access this toggle theme function that we've defined right here. So any child can toggle the theme and any child can access the theme. So they can simply access it, see if it's dark or light, and make a decision on how to render on the screen. And all of this is given to us by the use of context, by creating a provider context. So every component inside our application at this point, so header, all of our forms, our cards, so all of our flashcards, all of these can now reach the theme. They can pull into the theme, check it, and change it. We provided it just once in main.jsx, and now everyone can access it. If we use prop drilling, then we'd have to manually give in the header theme like this. So we had to give in a prop and then pass in a theme like this, access it inside the header by using props.theme. So we don't have to do all that, since now they can directly access it as we provided using theme provider. So for the last part of this section, let's actually make use of it. We have our theme context and theme provider. Inside our main.jsx, we've wrapped our entire application inside it so that now we can access theme and toggle theme. So inside our header itself, first of all, to be able to access this context or this theme provider, what we need to do is we need to import it at the very top. So we need to import useContext. So we need to be able to use context from React. Then we need to import the actual context that we want to use, which is theme context from themecontext.jsx. After we've imported both of these, inside our header, we can access these two properties. So we can access our theme and we can access our toggle theme from inside theme by using context, theme context. Okay, see what we did here. We imported a hook, used context that allows us to use context. So that allows us to access these values. And then we imported the actual context that we want to use. So this is the context that we want to use. We have to import use context only once. If we have like a theme context and you have auth context and stuff like that, so you'd have multiple contexts imported and you would do use context on them individually. So we use the theme context, which provides us with our theme and our toggle theme. And we can only use this because header lives inside app and app lives inside this theme provider. And remember, we created the theme provider right here. Okay, but now we can access the theme and toggle theme. What we want to do is we want to add a button inside here. I want to add a button that can toggle theme. So inside the button, I'm going to say switch theme to, and inside it, I'm going to insert JavaScript. So if theme, again, I'm just simply going to copy this. So I'm going to copy this logic and I'm going to paste it here. And I'm going to say mode at the very end. So what it's going to do is whatever theme it is, it's going to show the reverse of that. So if theme is dark, it's going to show light. If theme is light, then it's going to show dark. So switch theme to dark mode will be shown when the theme is light mode. Switch theme to light mode is going to be shown when the theme is dark mode. Okay. And to make this button actually work, you need to add an onClick event. OnClick, all I want to do is we have a function right here. This function is this right here, which is going to toggle the theme. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to onClick toggle. That is all I'm going to do. I'm going to call this function called toggle theme. So let's head on to our page. And one thing that we should see at this point is that this text is going to change, because as soon as we toggle theme, this will return false. And if we toggle theme again, this will return true. So it's going to show light or dark depending on the theme that we have. It's going to show the opposite one. So let me open up my Chrome again. And inside Chrome, I'm going to open up that page. And we can see it says switch theme to light mode, which means currently this condition is true. So it's showing light. If we click it, then theme should turn to light. And this condition will be false and we'll see dark. So as you can see, we're switching theme between light and dark mode. It's just that we have no CSS to reflect it yet, which we're going to do right now. So inside our app.jsx, we're going to import the same two things. We're going to import useContext and theme context. So inside my app at the very top, I'm going to import the theme context, and we already have useContext in our app. Great. What I'm going to do is inside my app itself, all I need is the theme. I don't need to be able to change the theme from inside my app. So I'm just going to grab the theme and I'm going to const theme and I'm going to grab it from useContext, and our context is theme context. So you can see theme context provides us with theme and toggle theme, but you can choose what to import. So inside app, I'm never going to change the theme. So I just want the theme only. But inside header, I want to be able to change it. So I'm importing toggle theme as well. Okay, once we have the theme itself, inside my main div, so inside the main div that I have right here, I want to apply this theme by doing class name equals to app, and I'm going to insert the theme. So it's basically going to say app dark or app light. If it's app dark, then the class assigned will be app dark. If it's app light, then the class assigned will be app light. Okay. And inside our CSS itself, I'm going to add the CSS for those both. So inside we have app, deck, card, category, question, and answer. And at the very end, I'm going to add a few lines that adds theme. So I have these two lines of CSS right here. One is for app light. One is for app light.card. Okay, if I go to my page and if I refresh this, dark theme should be the same. I haven't changed anything inside the dark theme. So let me refresh that once. But if I change it to light theme, then you can see the cards change. Now you can add your own dark theme as well, since actually inside our app.jsx, what we're doing is we're doing app theme. So it's either going to be app dark or app light. So if we open up our elements right here and we open up this div, we can see that the class applied is app light. If we click on this, the class gets changed to app dark. So if you had a different styling for app dark, you could do that. And you can see that we're simply changing that class name by clicking on this button. Now the overall flow again, overall flow again was that we created a theme context and a theme provider. Then inside our header, what we did was we imported the context itself,
we use the context by pulling out stuff from inside it. We can do this because our header is inside app, which is covered or wrapped around this theme provider. We can change the value of this theme, which is a use state, which is a state. So inside our theme context, we add a state for theme. Anyone can access this state by using theme and change it using set theme. We're changing it using toggle theme. Toggle theme is basically just going to reverse whatever theme it is. We reverse it when we click this button. Inside our app.jsx, all we do is we import both of those contexts again. We're pulling out only theme from inside the context, and we're applying that theme to our element or to the entirety of our app by simply assigning a class name like so. So that inside here, when we click this button, you can see that the class name changes because it's pulling it from the state which is provided to it by the theme context. You can now share data across your entire application without prop drilling, and is one of the most useful skills in React to be able to send data from one component to other and access it in such a way. I hope that you practice this, go over this section a few more times because I know this was a tough one. And in the next chapter, when you're ready, we will tackle more complex state with use reducer and finally build our quiz mode, which I'll see you in chapter 11 for.